Hi, my name is Michael Morris. In January of 2023, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. About a month and a half later, I underwent a radical prostatectomy. Since then, no further treatment has been required, and my PSA has remained undetectable for 19 months now. That's really great news. I have a favorable prognosis, and I feel like I'm a really lucky guy. I thought I would create a few videos to share some of the things I've learned along the way. There's just such a vast amount of information that a person who's recently diagnosed has to process and has to learn in order to be part of their treatment and their fight against cancer. This video is by no means to be construed as medical advice. If you have consequential medical decisions to make, you shouldn't be listening to me. You should be listening to your doctor. And if you're not getting satisfactory answers from your doctor, you should seek further medical advice from other doctors and other medical professionals until you have enough information to have a clear picture so you can make the choices that you need to make. The topic of this video is delegation and why you need it. And I'm going to try to persuade you that you need as much help as you possibly can get. One of the things that I really went through as I went through this cancer process is really evaluating what it meant to be a man and what that meant to me since my manhood was literally being attacked by cancer and by the treatments to stop the cancer. And I think one of our characteristics is generally thought of as being manly is that we handle our own stuff. We take care of ourselves. We don't need help from anybody else. You know, we're an island. We can do this. And while I think that's an admirable trait in many ways, it's a trait of self-responsibility in some ways. It's just not possible when you go through this experience. Think about this. You have just received a diagnosis and you need to learn what cancer is. You need to learn what your cancer is. You need to learn what the treatment paths are. You need to see possibly the next step down the road because that's consequential as well, you know, in your treatment. You're going to have to go and get more tests. With each of these tests, there's a prep. You know, you may have to starve yourself for a while or use an enema. All of these things have to be scheduled. All of a sudden, you're using your healthcare insurance. It just goes on and on and on. There are responsibilities you're going to have to shirk because you're going to be in treatment. So you're just overwhelmed. And the good news is you do have resources. And I want to talk about that because I just think men don't recognize that they have resources. And they also don't realize how resources can be used. There may be people around you who want to help, but what do you have them do? Well, I've got some ideas. When I received a diagnosis, and I think this is true for a lot of men, when you receive a diagnosis, all of a sudden you're standing in front of a fire hose of things you have to do and things you have to learn. And it all hits you really, really hard and fast. During that process, I didn't get around to informing a lot of people, nor did I feel like it. It felt like a very private, personal issue that I didn't care to share with a lot of people. So it took a little while for me to kind of share information. And one day, I was standing outside in my front yard, and my neighbor across the street, his name is Keith, walked to the middle of the street. This is our tradition. Since we live across from each other, you can't talk over the fence, so we just walk to the middle of the street. We're a couple of idiots, but we feel like we're entitled because it's our street. So if cars have to slow down, then so be it. And that's where we have our conversations. Odd little thing. We're going to get ourselves in trouble by doing that someday. But Keith had walked to the middle of the road, which many wanted to talk, and I walked to the middle of the road, and he told me, he said, Mark, my partner, told me that you had cancer, and he just started talking about that, and he was very, very emotional, and he wanted to make it really clear that he understood exactly how difficult this was. He had friends who had prostate cancer, and just how challenging and how very, very difficult it was to go through treatment. And he said, I will do anything to help you. And he pointed and he says, I got that brand new truck And I love to drive, and I will drive you to every appointment. I will wait for you to get through a treatment, and I will drive you home every single time. And so that's my across the street neighbor, it just really, really touched me. For one, just to know he cared as much as he did, and also that he was very specific in a way that he could help. So I want to talk about that and exactly about how people can help. So this is why people bring you casseroles and soups, because they want to help you and they don't know a better way to do so. But by God, if they could do anything to take your cancer away from you or to lift your burden, they would be there for you, and they would do that. And they're just so frustrated. And so they bring you lots of really great meals. And by the way, some of these I had some really, really great casseroles and soups along the way, some favorite recipes. And I'm still trying to steal a couple of recipes. So got spoiled from all of that. But there are better ways that people can use their time. And I want you to think about that a little bit. Here's another way of thinking of it. Think of all the heart and support and love you've given to other people over time. Think about your own generosity in helping other folk out. You've got kind of like a little bank of goodwill. And if you think of it that way, then consider that this is a really, really good time to spend some of that goodwill, to ask to have some favors returned. Maybe you helped your brother-in-law reshingle his roof a few years back. He's dying to pay you back. Plus, he loves you and he wants to help you in any way he possibly can. There are so many people who owe a debt of gratitude to you for one reason or another. So many people who love you. And again, just really consider accepting that. So I'm going to try to make that argument and provide a list of ways that you can delegate and ways to think about this. Number one on the list is communication. I learned this from my sister who had bladder cancer many years ago, and her bladder cancer group shared a little trick that I thought was very, very important, which is communications and centralizing your communications. This means you can ask someone, designate someone in your life to be the conduit for information. That person, whoever it would be, in my case, my sister volunteered to do this, has to choose some sort of medium like email or creating a Facebook group and keep it limited to just the people you want to share information with. What this allows you to do is not have to field 27 phone calls telling 27 different people what your latest test results were or where you're going next. And this is by no means a way to say you shouldn't be talking to people or to isolate you from your friends, but you can talk about other things and not have to repeat the same old thing over and over again, which I think sometimes if you just say things over and over again, it kind of re-traumatizes you. It's just upsetting again and again and again. So to have someone say, I'm going to take that from you and I'm going to be the king of communications over here, and I will let people know what they need to know. And then you can tell that person what you choose to share with your audience of people. I did that, and leading up to my surgery, which was a really critical time, and there were some very critical tests along the way, but leading up to that, I think I accrued probably about 25 people on that email list, and my sister managed it, and it was really, really helpful in terms of keeping a group of people together and informed of what was going on. So communication is number one. Number two is your significant other, your partner, your spouse. It's just really, really important that you find some way that they're okay. I want to make something very clear to you. As you're going through these processes, you're not always going to be there for your wife or your partner. It's just, you're just going to be overwhelmed with what's going on. So you can't support them in their emotional reactions. They're feeling overwhelmed. You're not going to be able to help them out. So they need their own resources, and that's something that you can do ahead of time, and you can actually talk to people. Your wife's best friend is teary-eyed and says, "What can I do for you?" The answer might be, "Take care of my wife. Make sure that she has a shoulder to cry on. Make sure you're there. Maybe take her out for a spa day. Take her out for dinner. Get her away from me. She needs a break." So make sure that your spouse is taken care of by other people. People want to volunteer. That's a good focus to have them on. Number 3 is information and learning. And this one was just very, very important to me because all of a sudden I had cancer and I knew nothing about it. And actually, worse than that, I did know a little bit about prostate cancer. I had 2 male friends who died from prostate cancer in the worst possible way. And so I had the absolute worst exposure to prostate cancer. And so, my initial reaction is no treatment. I'm out of here. I'm just not going to go through that misery if I know how the story ends. And so I had a very bad attitude from the very beginning. So there's so much to learn, and there's so much information to gather. And if you're like me, it was important for me to have control over my choices, have an understanding of that. I was the person who was making this in the driver's seat. I had agency throughout the entire process, and so in order to do that, you have to know some stuff. And I just think it's so funny. You're sitting in the doctor's office and they give you the bad news, and then they say, "Do you have any questions?" And it's like, yeah, I've got a million questions, but they're scattered with the rest of my brain that has just been blown because I've just received news that has just changed my life here and now. Forevermore, my life has been changed by this diagnosis, and I don't even know where to start. So yeah, I've got questions, but I don't even know what those questions are yet. And so you have this just overwhelming need to understand and wrap your mind around what's going on. Well, I have a suggestion, and that is have some people help you with this process. Look around your life and see if you can find someone who is a natural researcher. That can either be someone you know who's a busybody and nosy. It could be someone who is a paralegal or in the legal industry because lawyers and paralegals do a lot of research, do a lot of online information gathering. Also, that's true with academics. So if you have a person who's a professor in your life, they're also a very, very good resource. And here's what you ask them. One of the things you can do is, can you just gather information in this area or this particular topic and condense it for me and point out the resources that seem the most legitimate to you or the most the easiest to consume. There is a lot of information out there, and it's in all sorts of different forms, and you just can't get to the level of reading papers that have been submitted to the NIH, I can't remember what it is, or the AUA. Those kind of research papers are just overwhelming at first to comprehend. So having someone be able to kind of condense and simplify and find the best sources, the best and most informative sources of information is very, very helpful. Secondly, having someone do some research for you is less triggering. And I just share my own story. Sometimes I would pull up information on my tablet while I was in bed, hiding under the covers. I really mean that. Sometimes the stuff that I was reading was just so horrifying, outcomes that weren't great, or possibilities that I didn't want to hear, that I would literally hide under the covers. It really helps if someone can kind of get to the point where you're not reading every horror in the literature and can just sort of cut to the information that is relevant and important to you and important to your path. So it helps to have someone do that kind of thing and to shield you from the worst of it. So I encourage you to do that for that reason as well. And then also, it's really important to do some background work on your doctor and your medical team. I just have to caution you, and I have a great deal of respect for the doctors I've worked with, and all of them have been most professional and good people, ethical people. But there are bad apples out there, and just a little bit of research can sometimes raise some red flags that can warn you off of someone who is not a good actor, and you should not be around. So you need to do that research, and I just did not want to do that. I didn't want to have because in the process of doing that kind of research, sometimes it gets a little personal. You're kind of looking at a person and trying to figure them out, and it's like, I don't want to know much about my doctor, about their family, about their other life. I just want someone else to look it over and say thumbs up or thumbs down, or here's a red flag here. The doctor lost his license in another state. Okay, that's worth looking into. But to have someone look over that and reply back. In my case, I had a friend do it, and she was very thorough. And her response is, it's all green lights. This guy's a stand-up guy. Your doctor is a rock star, she said. He has a great reputation. So that was really great, and it gave me confidence in my doctor to have that research done. So I really encourage you to do that. It may sound picayunish, but this is your body and this is your life, and you don't want to have a malicious actor or an incompetent person taking care of you at your time of need. So keep that in mind. So we're down to information. Scheduling, which is a huge hassle, and some people are just not good at it. I have taught myself to use Google Calendar and to use my healthcare portal to arrange things. And I keep a double system that works for me because I found that sometimes my doctor's office messes up and I lose out on an opportunity for a test or something because they've messed up the schedule, and my own entry into my own Google Calendar helped me get past that problem. But if that's too much for you, or if you want somebody else on it, get someone else involved and have them manage you a little bit. Sometimes people just need to be project managed. I know I do. Sometimes I just need someone to stand behind me and say, okay, you need to do these things and at this time. And again, that can just lift a layer of effort you have to go through and let someone else manage it. Same with pill regimes. Sometimes you're on a lot of meds, and sometimes they're even conditional. It's like you take this every 3 days, or you take this only if you have a certain reaction. And that was certainly the case with me, and a lot of it had nothing to do with prostate cancer, but some other medications I had to take, and then blending them all together, it was a very complicated thing. And if it just overwhelms you, and it's really easy to be overwhelmed with pill regimes, I think find that person in your life who's just an organizer, the person who drives you crazy because they're always straightening every frame in your house, every picture on your wall, and telling you how to organize your life. Well, finally, you can give them the opportunity to just sort of take care of it and say, here are my pills. Give me a schedule. Tell me how to do this. And by God, they will. They'll come up with a plan for you. So that's another avenue. Transportation, which I mentioned before. And this may be part of, this might be part of your communication schedule. It's hard for any single person to drive you, drop you off and pick you up or wait for you through all these different procedures. You may need to have a pool of people. It's like, Michael needs to go to an appointment on Thursday at 9. Is anyone available to do this? And you can mail it to the circle of people. People will jump in there if and when they can. I also want to mention that sometimes with certain procedures, especially if you're going under general, that you may really want to consider having a chaperone, having someone who kind of is your angel present during these procedures, so they can intervene since you're not conscious, or when you're just not up to snuff in any sort of way. Maybe not even when you're under general, but it's just a really rough procedure. To have someone there to kind of be your advocate should you need it. And just sort of be there, during a difficult time. So consider that as part of your transportation plan as well, that you might want to ask for that at certain times. I could go on and on with the list. Healthcare, health insurance. I don't care how good your health insurance is, and I had a very, very good plan. I paid through the nose for my plan. But even with that plan, I just went through stupid disputes and stupid rejections and ways that they wanted me to pay and wanted to shirk their responsibilities for taking care of me as per my insurance that I paid for. So you're always going to be in those battles, no matter how good your health insurance is. There's always something to straighten out between your hospital's accounting team and healthcare insurance is a mess. And then on top of that, you're also dealing with whatever leave you've taken at work and how your work benefits play into this. And so it all gets very, very complicated. And believe me, this is always over my head. That kind of stuff, that kind of financial stuff, just does not appeal to me. So it was really, really helpful to get somebody else involved with that and help explain some things to me. And I actually involved a couple of people with that. I just have one person who just has a lot of savvy in seeking out resources. And I put her to the task. Just said, hey, Juliet, I don't know what I'm doing here. And she's like, I'm on it, just like that. Again, I just want to, really, really want to emphasize that just how much people want to help you out. I know that right before surgery, my very best friend who lives in the middle of the state, halfway across the state from me, called me up and said, it was a Saturday before my surgery. She called up and said, okay, I'm going to stop by your house. I'm going to drop off some soups that I made. And I'm not going to stay at all because I just know you're already in your game face for Monday. There's just no point in me being around. And so I'm just going to drop it off really quickly, and then I'll see you the day after surgery. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. She said, is there anything else you need? Is there anything else you can bring? And I said, yeah. I said, it's the weirdest thing. We're kind of preparing for what I need for taking catheter care after I get out of surgery. And we can't find rubbing alcohol anywhere in our area. We can't find it at drugstores, grocery stores. There's a supply chain problem where rubbing alcohol is not available. So if you find it in your area, would you just grab us a bottle? And she said, sure. So Saturday came, and she showed up with a bunch of soups, quarts and quarts of soup that she had made, and an entire flat of rubbing alcohol. Not just one bottle, but a flat. She bought the whole damn thing. That's more rubbing alcohol than I will live in my natural life. It will that rubbing alcohol will survive me and my partner. But it was just such a moving thing. I have this fantasy of turning into an exhibit and showing it off at some swanky Soho gallery while people muse and rub their chins wearing black turtlenecks and looking sophisticated. And there will be my display, and what will be that flat of rubbing alcohol and with a sign on it that says how much I am loved. So I just want you to think about that, and just think about how people try so hard, to help you out. And this is the time. This is the time to let them take care of you and help you. You really need it. Thank you.